Shalom, all praise to Abba Shah, double honor to the apostle GMS. This is Allah Allah coming at another video. And in this video, I'll be focusing on the book of Hebrews, the 5th chapter, the 12th verse. The scripture says, "For the time ye ought to be teachers, ye have need that one teach you again." So in the time you ought to be a teacher, we're going to see if I can find that word ought in the Greek.
Strong's G 3784. A
Philo. It says to owe money, be in debt for that which is due, the debt, metaphorically, the goodwill due. So you look at that word, it says to owe, or that which is due. So the time when you ought to be a teacher, or the time when it's due for you to be a teacher, right? For when the time you ought to be teachers, you have need that one teach you again. So when the time when it's due for you to be a teacher, you need to have one teach you again. Why would that be? Which would be the first principles of the oracles of the Most High.
Listen, man, it's gonna happen, bro.
And I'll become such as have need of milk and not of strong meat. So it says, you have need that one teach you again, would be the first principles of the oracles of the Most High. And I'll become such as have need of milk and not of strong meat. So in the time you ought to be a teacher, you need to have one teach you again. Because why? You are one that's in need of milk. Milk represents the basics of the scriptures. That's why I say you need to be taught again. If you need to be taught again, that means you don't even understand the basics. You don't even understand the entry level knowledge of the Bible. So you have the milk and not strong meat. It's like if you give a person a lot of information and a person says, "Man, you gave me a lot, man. I gotta digest all of that." It don't really mean they're gonna eat what it is that you're giving them and put it inside this and swallow it down and put it inside their stomach. They gotta digest it because you gave them a lot of information, a lot of knowledge. Digesting the meat and digesting the milk is two different things. You gotta chew the meat up, you gotta swallow it down. Whereas milk, it doesn't require any chewing. It's easier to ingest. Okay? It's easier to take into your body than meat. So it says, when the time you ought to be teachers, you have need that one teach you again, would be the first principles of the oracles of the Most High. And I become such as have need of milk and not of strong meat. So the ones that need to be taught again are ones that are in need of milk and not strong meat. Like this guy called Nath from Fopi. He going around saying that all of the 12 tribes are so-called Negroes. The Latinos, Native so-called Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Cubans, people from Guatemala, Panama, Colombia, Uruguay, Argentina, Chile, so-called Mexicans, North American Indians, Seminole Indians, are not Israelites. And I believe he just said Negroes. So which means he probably like been talking about so-called West Indians and Haitians. I remember years ago, some so-called Israelite dudes approached the Israelite camp in Indiana, GMS Indiana, years ago, and they was going around saying, "Oh, how the Haitians the Israelites?" You know. So this guy, Panaf, he's saying that the so-called Negroes are all the 12 tribes of so-called Negroes. Yeah, I've been looking it up. You know, I went back and did the research. You know, I couldn't hold it back no more. This guy's a goddamn fool. He's in need of milk and not of strong meat. He doesn't understand the deeper breakdown to the scriptures. He didn't understand the deeper knowledge of the scriptures for him to go around saying something like that. There's no way you can go to Genesis the 49th chapter and go into the prophecies speaking about the 12 tribes and attribute all of them prophecies to the so-called Negro here in America. You can't do it. You can't do it. You're going off if you try to. Because all of them don't fit the so-called Negro here in America. Look at that word milk. See if you can find something that has milk.
Strong's G 1051.
Gala. Less. It says metaphorically, a metaphor. It says milk, a metaphor for the less difficult Christian truths. See, the less difficult understanding. It's a metaphor. Metaphorically, of rudimentary spiritual teaching. Look at the word rudimentary. Rudimentary means basic or at a very early stage. See? Okay? So that's rudimentary level teaching. In other words, very simple, less difficult teaching. Entry level, early stages. Like, for example, a child learning how to write in capital letters. You got to trace out the letter A, letter B, letter C. That's rudimentary teaching. But then when you get older, you start learning how to write in cursive. You understand? It says in strong meat. Look at the word meat.
Strong's G 5160.
Trafe. It says food, nourishment. It doesn't really give you much there. See, look, denotes nourishment, food. It is used literally in the Gospels, Acts and James 2:15, metaphorically, i.e., deeper subject of the faith than that of elementary instructions. So it's deeper subject of faith. And one of them deeper subjects is the breakdown of the 12 tribes. Everybody just can't go into the breakdown of the 12 tribes, man. And if you're a brother in GMS, and you've been in this thing for 10, especially you've been in this thing for 10 years, you're supposed to be able to know the breakdown of all of the tribes, man. You're supposed to know who all the tribes are, how to say all of the names in Hebrew, what all of the names mean. You're supposed to be able to break it down. Because if you don't know how to break them down, then guess what? Then you don't know what you're out there teaching. And if you're a guy that's been in this thing, if you've been in this thing 3 months, you don't know certain stuff, how to break certain stuff down that well. But you've been in this thing hell. You've been in this thing 6 months. You're supposed to know that. You know, that's early level. That's deep knowledge, but that's something that's deep that's necessary to know. But that's a deep topic for these guys that don't got no knowledge, man. You know. So when you first coming in, these are things that you gotta learn. But you first come in, you're on a rudimentary level, an early stage of learning. But as you grow in the faith, certain things you got to be able to break down. Like when you first come into truth, you've been in the camp for 2 days. You've been in truth for 2 days. You're not going to know how to break down Esau. It takes time to break it down. You understand what I'm saying? You understand what I mean? So, milk is entry-level teachings. So read it again. It says, rudimentary level teaching. For when the time you ought to be teaching, you have need that one teach you again, would be the first principles of the oracles of the Most High, and I become of such as have need of milk and not strong meat. So you got to take it on that milk, then the strong meat. So it might take you 6 months for you to be able to break down certain types of meat, like the 12 tribes. You understand what I'm saying? But this dude Konaf, he's just a damn fool. You got in this scripture, Ephesians 4:14, that we henceforth be no more children tossed to and fro and carried about with every wind of doctrine. See, like children being carried out of every wind of doctrine, because a child has a rudimentary level of understanding, an entry level, a very early stage of understanding, which they can be carried around to and fro by every wind of doctrine, and they can be blown from this way or blown that way. They can be blown to and fro by doctrines. Go to this doctrine and go to that doctrine. The way the wind blows to and fro, back and forth, pushing different things around. They can be blown back and forth, pushed from one doctrine to the next. But the wind is being compared to a doctrine that's moving them by the sleight of men. Sleight meaning deception. Like a magician works with the sleight of hand. If a so-called magician pulls a card out from behind your ear, they didn't really pull it out of your ear. They did some type of trick. There was a sleight of hand. They used deception of hand. Nothing is in the hand when you looked at it, and then they pull a cord out from behind the ear. That's the sleight of hand, by the deception of men, by the sleight of men, or cunning craftiness. The word cunning, when you look it up in the etymology, it means skillfully deceitful, deceiving someone with skill. Oh, see, look, the Bible, see, so-called Jesus Christ goes back to Serapis Christos. He's not really even, he wasn't even an actual man. That's the cunningness or the skillful deceit of men. Cunning craftiness. What about they lie in wait to deceive? Right, they lie in wait to deceive you. They'll sit there, listen to you speaking out there at the camp, had their arms folded, and then they'll try to come at you with some deceitful doctrine, man. This is how they act. With these lies, man. But speaking the truth in love may grow up into him in all things, which is the head, even Yahushua. Last scripture. Sirach 5 and 9, also known as Ecclesiasticus 5 and 9 in the Apocrypha. Winnow not with every wind, and go not in every way. For so doeth the sinner that hath a double tongue. When you winnowing, a winnowing fan, you would take the winnowing fan. When the wheat is separated from the chaff, you would take the winnowing fan and you would take the wheat and the chaff and you would throw it into the air. And when the wind will blow, it will blow away the lighter chaff. So it separates the wheat from the chaff. The wind will blow and the heavier wheat will fall down, and the chaff that it was separated from, which is lighter, will be blown away. So you don't winnow with every wind. You don't work with every wind. You don't go into every doctrine. You don't work with every doctrine or labor into every type of doctrine by the slight which is brought about by the sleight of men. Their cunning craftiness where they lie way to deceive. You don't do that. And go into every way. Don't go into every doctrine, man. For so doeth the sinner that have a double tongue. That's what the sinner does, have a double tongue. A double tongue. You say one thing, and then you say another thing. One minute God talking about the Bible, the next minute he's trying to blend in the Egyptian book of the dead, or to keep knee gas into the scriptures, man. Some type of foolishness. So that's all I really wanted to get to, you know. Winnow not with every wind, you know. And that part of that thing, of this whole thing about, you know, the 12 tribes being those so-called Negroes. This guy's out of his mind. Lord willing, I'm going to do a video on that this week. You know, go into one of the 12 tribes in depth and see if these guys could decipher it. So that I'm going to close. I'm going to say, oh, praise to Habashim Ashah, the Lord, the Apostles, GMS. And I'm going to say, Holy Brothers, Shalom.